was always my dream to go on shlichus, even when I was a young child. I was very involved in mivtzoyim and those kind of things. I looked at it as perhaps preparation for shlichus. While I was sitting in Kollel one day, somebody came over to me and said that the Merkez office is looking for you, which were the words I was waiting to hear my whole life, because that was code for shlichus. My specific dream was to go to a place that otherwise really didn't have Yiddishkeit. I went to Rabbi Kadlarsky's office. He offered us Oklahoma.
We turned to Merkez and we asked that we want to go on shlichus to do the Rebbe's work. And the option that we were given was to go to Istanbul, to go to Turkey. Turkey? We have never been to Turkey. We don't know anybody from Turkey. I come from Eretz Yisrael. My wife comes from Miami. This is where somebody has to go. That's where we went.
My grandfather looks at me in the eyes and he says, "You have to visit my grandfather's matzeva. You are named after him." I visited the Bratislava Jewish cemetery. I read my grandfather's matzeva and it says he was taken early and he wasn't able to complete his life. I realized that the life that my grandfather wasn't able to complete is my mission.
We were not going to a big place. We were not going to make Lubavitch famous. There were a lot of limitations. As one person put it to me, he said, if there was a town that was the same size as the number of Jews that were in Oklahoma, McDonald's would never open a branch over there. Why are you going?
In almost every city that you visit, you'll see another plaque of how many Jewish people lived here before the war and how many were wiped out. Beautiful synagogues, which maybe 30, 40, 50 years, I don't know how many decades there wasn't a Kaddish said. As Chabad Hashluchim, we asked, is there any chance of feeling Yiddishkeit over here in Slovakia?
The Jewish community of Turkey is really a community with a very, very rich past. The oldest Jewish community in the world, a community of 2,700 years from the times of the Navi Avadia. But in the past 100 years or 150 years, it has become very, very secular. Most observant people moved out. Study of Torah has been very much diminished. And then here come two young people from a different background. And people were questioning.
I understood from day one that our shlichus would include not necessarily building a community, not necessarily having the proper education locally for my children, that I would not have a source of kosher food that would satisfy our needs on a regular basis. It's part of the shlichus. We take pride in that. That's part of what we do. It's a very small price to pay for the great privilege of being a shliach.
There are so many Jewish souls that are looking for a dur, an expression, a Torah class, a mezuzah, Jewish friend. These Jews are thirsting for Yiddishkeit.
The Rebbe spoke a great deal about the concept of shlichus being to individuals. That individual will have an effect on the people directly around him, his family, for example. That family will ultimately have a positive influence on the other families around them.
We realized that our work is with the existing Jewish community. It's like when you are strengthening the foundation of a very ancient and historic building, and you have to remain true to the old decoration and the designs. Our job is one family at a time, one Jew at a time, one mitzvah at a time.
Was ist der Heichet an der Chome bei Kiflayim, wo die Schluchim, wo sein dahin zu verwogelt. Haben sie sich einmal teilnis benomle ben Atzmum oder benomle ben Kinus oder benomle ben Odom Chaveli. Hayitochen verwosset das Nofel begerolo. Als sie sollen sich gefunden an Echad bei Jiru Schneien bei Mishpoche. Kedei zu Matzlo sein a Stott oder a Medine. als mit die sein dort wegen dem Ebersten Veterossi und mit Zweiser. Und kann reden mehr nicht wegen Unionen Pschutim Betachlis. Worden zu kennen edlere Sachen, so haben sie noch kein Scheiches nicht. Und auch drum sagt man, also das ist Schlichus Shabbakodesh Borcho. Als wie bald der Eberster hat Esikli, Mazer Zoltono, die Schlichis Davke in Apino Rechiko, ist auch das ist sein Tachlis Ashlemus, und duru wird der Griechen, dass dem Inje, was kann, das bestimmt even nicht der Griechen, duru was sich sparen, sein Davke in der Not, wo dort kommt dann der Limo der Teire Benokel und der Kiyama Mitzvah Sonis Jenes.
My grandmother passed on the 21st of July 2017. As a good grandson, I made a nice Christian funeral for her. Obviously, we inherited the apartment, and I said to my mom that she should go there. It was her mom, and she should choose whatever she wants and can use. And I remember that I called her, and she said, I need to tell you something. I am just in Omama's apartment, and I found the paper, and I don't know what it means. Because it says like something that her father was some Jakob Gutmann, and he was a Jew, and he died in Auschwitz. I was like, what?
One day, not long after we had arrived, we heard about a Jewish woman who was originally from Casablanca, but she was living completely isolated from the rest of the Jewish people in a small town. And the only thing that they knew about her was her first name. I decided that this was part of our job, based on what the Rebbe had told us, that we should connect to individuals. So I got into a car, as I did often. I would drive around for a week, and I pulled into Maysville.
About 2 years ago, a lady who identified herself as Muslim called me up, telling me about her grandmother, who died a few years before. That when she became senile, started speaking a language which they couldn't understand. They recorded it, they brought it to a professional. They found out that she was speaking Yiddish. Yiddish.
He comes over to my house and tells me about his grandmother. She couldn't bear the thought of her children and grandchildren suffering the way she did. And at that moment she made this decision that Yiddishkeit is over and it's past. 50, 60 years, nobody knew anything about Yiddishkeit. And here he's knocking on my door and he's saying, Rabbi, can I be part?
We did a very, very thorough research. We found her birth certificate. She was born in Lodz. Found out that her mother was taken from Belgium to Auschwitz. Found out on what train did her mother go. After the war, she came to Turkey. She married a Muslim man, and she never told anybody where she came from.
I went into a gas station, and I asked the person behind the counter, perhaps she would know who it is. And sure enough, she said her last name. She dialed the phone for me, told her that I'm a rabbi and that I'm here to connect to Jewish people. She said, don't move. We live several miles out of town. It's going to take me about 20 minutes to get there. Just stay right there. I'm on my way. She pulled in this big red pickup truck, and she ran over to me and she said, my family came to get me. My family came to get me.
This year Pesach, at the Seder table in our house, this family of 16 people sat for the first time in their lives at the Seder table. The first time in their life that they ate matzah. The first time that they participated in a Jewish event.
This summer, we celebrated the bar mitzvah of Leo together with another 2 Jewish members of the community in Košice.
For 33 years of my life, I didn't know anything about it because my grandmother, she kept it inside, locked, because she was afraid that what happened could happen again. Me taking on this legacy, I feel I should not be afraid anymore and carry on. And I'm proud that I'm a Jew and I can continue this legacy.
Standig die Stadles von Gdele Israel, bis Rabbeinu Nisiyenu in Deres wa Achiach Reinim, bis dem Reben dem Schwer, auf Mefi sein der Limo da Teira vekie mitzveseho, bechol katz vetevel bis in Apina Hachini Dachas. Was Lichiera mit der selber Stadlos wer me Horewet, wie Medines Hasmuches oder bis wie Wosse Hakrevo wollten gekonnt Tufto mit Asachmererin. Isach Lichiera am kon Nufto mit Asachmererin. I was bad Leik verlegt mit der 95er Iden, 95er Mischproche, auf etliche Mischproche. Als kommt dann eine Idee von einer, gefindt sich ein Jid bemokim Rochig. I doch sicher nicht auch in Lebora, Kodesh Borcho, Dover Echet, Bewome, Levatolo. Als ist angekommen die Idee, dass Simen, als darf in der Rufton, was weiß der Chesa Cheshm, die Idee, was darf legen auf eine Medina Rechika, konnte der Mietufton kam upon im Koch in der Medina Krevo, kon sein, der Cheshm trockt nicht Tees und der Cheshm gedei, auf Walbo sein, soll nicht tun die Schlichus, was hat auf Matzo seiner Jiden beim Mokim Brochi.
Then she asked me, "Who sent you?" I gave her the simple, honest answer. I said, "The Rebbe sent me," because there was no other reason that I could think of why I was in Maysville at that particular time waiting for this woman, other than this is what the Rebbe expects of us, that we should connect to each and every Jew, no matter where they are.
Dear distinguished guests, dear friends, it is my honor and privilege to stand here in front of you. I'm still quite not believing all that happened in the last 50 months. As you saw in the film, my story has been quite extraordinary. At the beginning, it was a very private matter, but I gave it a lot of thought and realized that after a generation that was close to wiped out during the Holocaust, only to miraculously survive, a generation that was silenced, and a generation that didn't know, I'm finally the one that can and should be openly proud to be Jewish. And it was a very liberating decision. I would not be standing here today without the help of my rabbi, and now a good friend and mentor, Rabbi Zev Stiefel, who with a gentle heart and slow but steady determination navigated me to put the tefillin on for the first time, pray the Shema for the first time, and study Torah with me so I can begin to understand what it really means to be Jewish. So, thank you to the Rebbe for sending Rabbi Stiefel to Slovakia. Thank you, Zev, for your kindness and help. And thank you, Chabad, for all the amazing work you are doing to help people like me come home. Am Israel, Chai.
I often tell my kids that just by being who they are, walking in the street like a Yid, like a Chosid, with a head covering, with tzitzis, they can impact another Jew. They are a living example that no matter where a Yid is, in New York, in Miami, in Herzl, or in Muslim Istanbul, you can be a Yid. You can live like a Jew.
A Holocaust survivor comes over to me after we blew the shofar, and she tells me, I was here 86 years ago when there were signs, no Jews and no dogs allowed. And today I felt we have our revenge, and this is the future of Yiddishkeit in Slovakia. And I can say very proudly to the Rebbe, Yahadut Slovakia Chai V'Kayam. Yiddishkeit in Slovakia is living right now today.
My father, Zoltan Gebencht, used to call me after Shabbos to give me Chazara Verbringen. And he called me one Shabbos. And B'chal, my father is a kopmensch, he's not so much an emotional person. And he called me and he was very, very emotional. And he said, I remember his voice cracked, he said, the Rebbe spoke about you today. So what do you mean? He said, the Rebbe spoke about a shliach, an individual shliach that's in a very isolated place. And he doesn't have a minyan. And it takes time to gather together all his 10 kirchsa nefesh so that he could daven with all of them. The Rebbe described that kind of situation. It was an emotional moment. For me, for my father. What more do I want? You have no idea how happy I am. I'm controlling myself. I want to dance right now. To think about Shlichut, to think about the Rebbe, to think about how fortunate we are that we could be on Shlichus and do what the Rebbe wants on a regular basis. It's more than I can handle. I'm a very, very grateful person.
וישרי חלקום של כל אלה, וזה tun das benefesh chafetzer, und fordern uns einen Male die Schliches besimcha vetuv leivov, was der Rebester will, soll sein die Galle qued malchusa, bis in die Pino achini dachas, wo das wird durchgeführt, das geht durch die Schluchim, wo sie fordern kipschuton bin amokim rochig, und arbeiten dort und tun dort mit der Simcha vetuv leivov, seinen sicher matzliach lemaila mit derech hateva, der Fall, was der Mischaler, der Rebestelle mit sie dorten und der Rebbe der Nossi, mit sie dorten, der Halwai soll sein, der Keinba Kedesh Chazi Sicho, sollen sehen oder das, was sie sehen oder die, was sie führen durch die Schliches in der Medina Zerchekis.